The nominations for the 95th Academy Awards are coming out very soon, so being the award season freak that I am, I decided I was going to do an entire video dedicated to my predictions. Now, before I start, I should let you know that at the time I'm recording this, the nominations for the BAFTAs and the winners for the Critics' Choice Awards haven't been announced yet. Ideally, I'd be doing a video like this after all that has come out, but I'm back in college from Monday and I don't know if I'm going to have time to shoot and edit this video during the week, so I'm just going to have to get it done now. If something happens between now and the end of the week to change my predictions, well, that sucks for me. But with that out of the way, let's get into my predictions. So we're starting off with the big one, which of course is Best Picture. The obvious ones out of the way first: The Fabelmans, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin. Those are the only three movies to have hit the Golden Globes, the Critics' Choice, the Producers Guild, Directors Guild, Screen Actors Guild, and the BAFTA longlist. So they're the frontrunners. They're our top three. Not far behind those, you have Top Gun Maverick, Tar, and Elvis. Those are the three next safest, in my opinion. Avatar: The Way of Water, also looking like a very strong bet for a nomination. And then the last three slots, I think, are kind of up for grabs. Babylon's in a very dangerous position right now, having missed Producers Guild and the BAFTA longlist. But it did make it in for SAG Ensemble, so it's not dead yet, and I kind of have a suspicion that it's going to be this year's Nightmare Alley, where it's the contender that a lot of people think is dead at this point, but it still manages to crack the Best Picture lineup based on the technical support that it's going to receive, because it's going to get in for production design and costumes and score, probably. So, in a lineup of 10, that could be all the support that it needs to get into Best Picture. All Quiet on the Western Front is an interesting one, because it didn't initially seem like it was doing very well with the precursors, but it got loads of mentions on the BAFTA long lists, and it maxed out on the technical shortlists for the Oscars. So, yeah, I could see there being a lot of industry support for this one to make it into the Best Picture lineup as the international representation. If it performs very well on BAFTA nomination morning, I'd say definitely move it into your predictions. Of course, if it doesn't perform well on BAFTA nomination morning, this video could age very poorly, but that's the risk that I'm just going to have to take. And then The Whale. I think we kind of were starting to think that that movie was just going to be Fraser and makeup and nothing else, but then it got into the PGA lineup, and also Hong Chau got nominated at SAG, so yeah, I think this movie's back in Best Picture. It's going to be the annual contender that most of film Twitter hates, but the industry still embraces. In terms of other contenders, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever got in at PGA, but I don't really see that translating into a Best Picture nomination at the Oscars. I know the first one got in, but the first one was like an 88 on Metacritic. This one's like a 67. The reviews are just not strong enough for a comic book movie to be able to get into Best Picture. So I think that was just a PGA thing. Glass Onion, again, it got into PGA, but I think that was just the kind of thing that they like to do. The lack of a SAG Ensemble nomination is not a good sign for it. It's too genre-y. I think that one's going to get in for adapted screenplay and nothing else. What else have I got? Triangle of Sadness seemed to be picking up more momentum with the Golden Globes and a few mentions on the BAFTA longlist, but I don't really see that having enough strength. It hasn't really shown up at the guilds at all, so I don't think that's going to happen. RRR would be fun, but aside from the Critics' Choice nomination, the precursors just haven't really been throwing it a bone. BAFTA's certainly not going to go for it because of how, explicitly anti-British it is, so forget that. The Woman King, the buzz has kind of died down for that one. It didn't get in at PGA, it didn't get in at SAG Ensemble, so I don't think so. Aftersun, I'd love for Aftersun to get in, but I don't want to get my hopes up. And Women Talking, man, I don't know what happened with that one. Like, coming out of the September festivals, that was supposed to be like a top 5 contender, and then it just got shafted the whole season. Like, I think it only got one acting nomination at the precursors. That was Jessie Buckley at Critics' Choice. Claire Foy got nothing. It didn't get into PGA, didn't make the BAFTA longlist. wasn't nominated at the Golden Globes for Best Drama. It got in at SAG Ensemble, but like, if it hadn't gotten in there, it would have seemed like there was a vendetta against it. So yeah, that movie really took a beating this season. I don't know what happened there. For Best Director, you've got Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, just won the Golden Globe. He's in a very strong position, even if he surprisingly missed the BAFTA long list. Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once. They're looking very strong. They've been sweeping the Critics' Awards. Martin McDonagh for Banshees of Inisherin. He didn't get nominated for Best Director for Three Billboards, but I don't think he'll get snubbed again this year. I think this time he'll get the nomination. Todd Field for Tar. Could get snubbed, I could see that happening, but I think he's pretty safe overall. And James Cameron for Avatar: The Way of Water. This one might not be as safe as a lot of people think, because there's other Avatar movies coming in the future, so they might kind of think, well, we'll have plenty more opportunities to nominate him in the coming years. Let's save up this spot for somebody else. Because remember, Peter Jackson didn't get nominated for The Two Towers. He was nominated for the other two Lord of the Rings movies, but he didn't get nominated for the second one. So that could happen here. But I'm gonna predict it for now. I think never bet against James Cameron. That's what we've been learning for the past month or so. Edward Berger could get in for All Quiet on the Western Front if that really does turn out to be a thing, because there has been a trend of international nominees in this category over the last few years. Joseph Kosinski got in at the DGA for Top Gun, so maybe he takes out Cameron. I don't know. I guess Baz Luhrmann for Elvis is absolutely in the conversation. If we're talking most directed movie, that would be a shoo-in, but we'll see. And I kind of think those are all the major contenders. Chazelle, I don't think is happening at this point. He's done. Sarah Polley, sorry guys, not happening. Not after the beating that movie took. Charlotte Wells, I would love to see. Please, Academy. Please. But I'm fairly happy with this top 5. We'll see. Best Actor, we have 4 close to locks. Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Bill Nighy for Living. Those 4 are in. They've gotten in everywhere. It's the 5th slot that's a mystery. I'm going to be optimistic and say that it's Paul Mescal for Aftersun, because, I really want him to get nominated. I think if Aftersun is going to get nominated for anything, he's probably its best shot. And there's no excuse for a Best Actor lineup that doesn't include him. He has to get in. I mean, our other options are Tom Cruise for Top Gun Maverick, which, fuck off. No, I will not accept that. If he gets nominated over Paul Mescal, I will become the Joker. Hugh Jackman for The Sun, yeah, I think the reviews kind of sank that movie. That's not going to happen. Adam Sandler got in for Hustle at SAG, but I have a strong feeling that was just a SAG thing. I don't think that's going to translate to an Oscar nomination. It would be a nice makeup for his Uncut Gems snub, but I don't see it. Yeah, it's kind of a sparse field this year. Those are kind of the only really plausible ones. I guess there's also Jeremy Pope for The Inspection, but he hasn't been mentioned really at all since the Golden Globes, so I don't think so. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say with this category. Best Actress. This one is Cate Blanchett versus Michelle Yeoh. They're pretty much neck and neck at the moment in terms of being the frontrunner, and I think they're both going to get in for sure. Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans is my number 3. I could see her getting snubbed, to be honest, especially after she didn't make the SAG lineup, but I'm going to predict her for now. Ana de Armas for Blonde. People hate the movie, but clearly there's a lot of support for her performance. It's gotten in at loads of precursors, including SAG, so I think she's in. And Viola Davis for The Woman King. Again, I think she is snubbable. I feel like this gives me the vibes of the contender who's nominated at all the precursors and then misses on Oscar nomination morning. That usually happens, and I feel like she's the likely candidate for that this year, but I'll leave her in the predictions for now. Obviously, film Twitter will be hoping to see Danielle Deadwyler get nominated for Till, and that's certainly a possibility, especially since she got in for SAG, but right now I have her at number 6. Olivia Colman for Empire of Light, I don't think so. I think she peaked at the Golden Globes. Margot Robbie for Babylon, in a pretty weak position right now. She's gotten snubbed in a lot of places, but I still think she's kind of on the fringes here. And those are kind of the big names in contention here. I guess there's Jennifer Lawrence for Causeway, but that hasn't really gone anywhere. Naomi Ackie for I Want to Dance with Somebody, again, hasn't really gone anywhere. Yeah, I don't think I'm forgetting anybody. Supporting actor. Ke Huy Quan is still number 1. I think his speech at the Golden Globes definitely sealed the deal. Brendan Gleeson and Barry Keoghan for Banshees of Inisherin, they've shown up consistently this season. Paul Dano for The Fabelmans was on pretty shaky ground until recently, but I think the SAG nomination kind of saved him. And also, he's overdue. Like, people want to see him nominated, so I feel pretty good about him getting in. For the 5th slot, I have defaulted to Eddie Redmayne for The Good Nurse. I don't feel great about this prediction. This could be Jared Leto in The Little Things, where he shows up at Golden Globes and SAG, and that's it. But nobody really feels completely right when it comes to predicting the 5th slot. Brad Pitt has missed quite a few key nominations, and, elephant in the room here, there's also the stuff about his personal life, which I don't know how many voters are going to be aware of that, but it's out there. I guess I have to begrudgingly acknowledge that Tom Hanks is a contender for Elvis, for his weird Dutch Tom Parker. Judd Hirsch in The Fabelmans could be this year's Judi Dench in Belfast, like the beloved veteran who surprises on nomination morning. I wouldn't count that out as a possibility, even if I'm not predicting it. And I guess there's also Ben Whishaw for Women Talking, but he hasn't really shown up anywhere. Has he shown up anywhere outside of the BAFTA longlist? I don't think so. And it would be a pretty embarrassing look if the only actor nominated from Women Talking was the only bloke in it, So I don't think that's going to happen. Supporting actress, Kerry Condon is still my number 1. I feel pretty good about predicting her to win, and she would be a deserved winner. Angela Bassett is number 2, having won the Golden Globe. I don't see her winning the Oscar because, it's no acting performance from a Marvel movie has ever even been nominated for an Oscar. Even Michael B. Jordan couldn't get in for the first Black Panther, and that was in the Best Picture conversation, which this one isn't. So it would be very unusual, even though Bassett is, a much-loved veteran. Is that narrative enough to carry her to a win for a superhero movie? I don't know. We'll have to see. But right now she's number 2 because she just won the Golden Globe, and I could see her winning the SAG, so who knows. Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I do not understand how she became this movie's supporting actress push when Stephanie Hsu is so obviously better. But I guess she's the big name, so she's getting in. Hong Chau for The Whale. SAG has definitely saved her, I think. She's very much back in the conversation. And then the 5th slot, I'm going with Dolly DeLeon for Triangle of Sadness. She'd be a very cool, deserved nomination, and the fact that she got in at Golden Globe, I think, is a good sign, because that's not somewhere where I would have expected her to land a nomination. So I'd keep an eye on her. The Women Talking ladies, I think, are still kind of in contention, but if it's going to be one of them, it'll probably be Jessie Buckley, because she got in at Critics' Choice, and she's the only one who got an acting nomination at any of the big precursors, which is pretty crazy considering the buzz that whole cast had coming out of Toronto, but that's the way it turned out. Stephanie Hsu could still get in for Everything Everywhere All at Once. She was nominated for the SAG alongside Jamie Lee Curtis. The one thing that's kind of holding me back from predicting it is that I'm already predicting 2 Banshees of Inisherin cast members to get in for supporting actor, and it's very rare that you have 2 categories where there's 2 nominees for the same film, but it's not impossible. Janelle Monáe for Glass Onion, I think the buzz kind of died out on that one. I don't think that really went anywhere. Carey Mulligan for She Said, again, hasn't really shown up enough. I don't think people are enthusiastic enough about the movie. And I guess there's also Claire Foy for Women Talking, even though she didn't land anywhere at the precursors. She's still in the hunt, I guess, especially if the movie manages to surge back in Best Picture, but that's looking unlikely at this point. Best Original Screenplay, Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans. Again, the big three in Best Picture, also the big three in this category. Tar, definitely one to look out for. I saw it the other day, and yeah, it's fucking phenomenal. And then for the fifth slot, I'm going with Triangle of Sadness. That feels like the kind of movie that the writer's branch would definitely go for. Especially in a kind of relatively sparse field like this one. This is another category where I could see Aftersun sneaking in, and I would love that, but again, I'm not going to get my hopes up. And I guess the only other contenders are Babylon and The Woman King, neither of which I really see getting in. So yeah, it's really the five I mentioned, and then Aftersun as an outside possibility. That's kind of it. Adapted Screenplay. Yeah, I've got The Whale at number one now. And I think with Women Talking kind of pushed out of the Best Picture race, that has become the new frontrunner for Adapted Screenplay, and I'm sure Twitter will be thrilled with that development. At number two, I have All Quiet on the Western Front, because I also have it getting in for Best Picture, so I feel like that'll come along with it. Women Talking, still number three. You know, people do love that script, even though the industry has been kind of turning its back on the movie for whatever reason. Glass Onion, the first one was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, so I expect this one to repeat. And then there's Living, which I think will ride the strength of Bill Nighy's nomination to an Adapted Screenplay mention. I guess Top Gun could also be a possibility here, but god, that would be so desperate. Like the field is so sparse that they have to nominate Top Gun Maverick for Best Screenplay. Jesus Christ. White Noise, maybe? I don't know. Again, this is a very weak field right now. There aren't a lot of obvious contenders. Animated feature. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, that's winning. Turning Red, that's number two, because Never Bet Against Pixar. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which apparently is really good. I don't get to see it until February, but everyone seems to love it, so I guess that's a late breaker into the race. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I could see that one getting snubbed because it has live action elements, kind of like the Lego Movie, but that's just a hunch. Like I'm not gonna go all the way with that prediction. And then I have My Father's Dragon, because usually there is an international pick in this category, although that movie hasn't really picked up any steam with the precursors. It couldn't even make the BAFTA long list, which gives me pause. But like, what else is there? I mean, there's Wendell and Wild, which I feel like most people are kind of mixed on. Strange World, which nobody remembers. Lightyear, which nobody remembers. The Richard Linklater one, Apollo 10.5. I know that one was disqualified, but I think they reversed that decision after the backlash. So I guess that could get in. Oh, and The Bad Guys, I suppose, the DreamWorks film. That's also in the conversation. I'm going to stick with My Father's Dragon for now. I just think it makes sense to me, especially since, you know, Cartoon Saloon have never missed a nomination before. And Netflix is back in this one as well, so I'd keep it in. Best Documentary Feature. This is an interesting one, because this is the one category where every year you cannot say that any movie is safe. So many times with this category, the supposed frontrunner has been snubbed on nomination morning, so you know, I'm just going to have to play it safe and see what happens. So I'm predicting All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, the probable frontrunner, Fire of Love, Moonage, Daydream, Descendant, The Territory. Navalny is also definitely a possibility, but these five, I think, are what I'm going to go with, even though, like I said, any of them could be snubbed, and it wouldn't be that shocking because the documentary branch is fucking weird. International feature. Just a reminder, RRR was not submitted here by India, so it's not going to be nominated. Stupidly. All Quiet on the Western Front is still the frontrunner, even though it lost the Golden Globe. I mean, I have it in my Best Picture predictions, so, logically I have to put it at number one in International Feature. Decision to Leave, I think there's going to be a lot of people wanting to see Park Chan-wook nominated, so definitely keep this one in. Close, Saint Omer from France, and yes, I am plugging the home team here by predicting The Quiet Girl, my country's film. It's not a lock to be nominated. This is a very competitive category. You've also got EO, Argentina 1985, which won the Golden Globe, Holy Spider, Return to Seoul, even Bardo, which got mixed reviews out of Venice, has managed to maintain a presence this season. But I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to hope for Quiet Girl. It would be really cool to see that nominated, and I think it has a really good chance. Best Original Score: Babylon, Women Talking, Fabelmans, Banshees of Inisherin, Avatar: The Way of Water. I feel pretty good about this five. Babylon's probably going to win because it won the Golden Globe, and it's really the only score in this five that I've seen people really buzzing about. Fabelmans, has the John Williams factor going for it, but not a lot of people have really singled it out in the reviews, so it doesn't seem like that's going to win. The Batman should be in contention here, but it's not because it didn't make the shortlist, which is a shame, but oh well. I guess Alexandre Desplat could get in for Pinocchio as well, but I'm going to stick with these five. Original song, I'm going to play it safe here. Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, Natu Natu from RRR, Lift Me Up from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Carolina from Where the Crawdads Sing, which I believe would be Taylor Swift's first nomination, interestingly enough, and Ciao Papa from Pinocchio, which, I didn't think was a great song, but whatever, I guess. A lot of people seem to like it, and there's not really that many other contenders. I haven't seen any buzz about the Weeknd song from Avatar: The Way of Water, and I don't really remember it that much either, so I don't think that's going to happen. Apparently there's a good original song in White Noise. I haven't watched it yet, but I guess that might be a possibility. We'll see. Cinematography: Top Gun Maverick, All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Fabelmans, Babylon. Elvis made quite a splash when it got in at the American Cinematographers Society, so I guess don't rule that out either. Empire of Light also has Roger Deakins going for it, so that could get nominated. But I think this five is looking pretty good as far as nominations are concerned. I'm still not sure which one's going to win. I know Top Gun has won a lot of awards in this category so far, but I'm still not certain. I could see All Quiet on the Western Front kind of experiencing a bit of a surge. I could see that winning the BAFTA, assuming that it becomes the Best Picture player that I think it will. But for now, I think these five are going to be the nominees. Production design: Babylon, recreation of old Hollywood, that's always a good bet. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, the first film won in this category, so it's kind of a given. Fabelmans, period setting. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio would be a really cool nomination. I think I love it when stop motion movies get recognized for their craft elements, because it's really cool. The Woman King. This feels pretty good. I guess there's also Elvis, that had pretty flashy production design. Everything Everywhere All at Once made very cool use of kind of limited settings. A lot of it was set in just variations on the IRS building, which I thought was very cool. It made very interesting use of that setting. So I'd really like to see that nominated, but I'm gonna hold back for now. Costume design, you've got Babylon, Black Panther, Elvis, Woman King, The Fabelmans. I could also see Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris getting in here, because that's a movie that's very centered around its costumes, and also Jenny Beavan. She's a force to be reckoned with when it comes to awards. So those seem like the kind of top contenders. I guess Corsage could get in as well, but that's an uphill climb because it's a foreign language film. Makeup and hairstyling: The Whale, Elvis, The Batman, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, All Quiet on the Western Front. Woman King could also get in here. I suppose Blonde as well is in the conversation, especially if Ana de Armas gets nominated. Not really sure yet, but I'm pretty happy with those 5 that I have. For visual effects, we have Avatar, obviously. I think, just give that the Oscar already. That's a done deal. Top Gun Maverick, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Nope, and Jurassic World Dominion. It is insane to me that Everything Everywhere All at Once didn't make the shortlist. I don't know how that's possible. That should easily have been in the top 5, but it didn't make it, so I'm going with these 5. Achievement in film editing. This is a very important category because a lot of the time the Best Picture winner is going to be nominated here. That doesn't always happen, but most of the time it does, so keep an eye on this one. Top Gun Maverick, it's an action movie. Certainly don't bet against that. Everything Everywhere All at Once had some of the most striking editing that I've seen all year. I'd say that's definitely going to get in. Elvis, very flashy editing. Certainly gonna catch the eye of this branch. Avatar, the first one, I believe, got in, so I put that one in as well. And The Fabelmans, on the basis that I currently have it at number 1 in picture. Although I could see that one getting snubbed. We'll have to see. Babylon, I haven't seen yet, but I imagine the editing in that is very flashy, and, while this probably shouldn't be the case, that often is kind of what catches the eye of the voters in this branch. Banshees of Inisherin, if it's going to be a top 3 contender, has to be in the conversation here. Yeah, this feels like a pretty solid lineup to predict. Achievement in sound. Top Gun Maverick, again, action movie. Very reliant on its sound effects. Everything Everywhere All at Once, Elvis, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon. All Quiet on the Western Front is a war movie, so it could get in here, and actually, in retrospect, put that in as a contender for editing as well. It's not necessarily going to make my top 5 predictions, but I should have mentioned that as a possibility. Black Panther, I guess. Moon Age Daydream. That could certainly be a interesting surprise nomination, and that would be a very good kind of outside of the box pick. Wouldn't predict it though. It's a bit of a risky prediction. So those are my official predictions for the 95th Academy Award nominations. We will know how right or wrong I was on January 24th, 2023. Until then, see ya.